So this is what makes you guys better. I'm going to say not different, but better, because I truly believe it's a better way of training.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I interviewed the founders of Syrenn. They are revolutionizing training by using AI roleplay. When I heard about this company, I simply had to interview them. They also embody the competitive entrepreneurial spirit that I love on my podcast. You're going to really enjoy today's episode and be really inspired by this company. Check it out.
Welcome to the podcast, and welcome Nati, Fett, and Colin Guest, the founders of Syrenn. And it's really good to be here on the High Performance Podcast. What we like to do here is talk about people who are performing at a high level, and you guys are. It's really exciting. And so
Thank you,
I'm hoping today that people watching this, especially aspiring entrepreneurs, will be emboldened by what you guys are doing and be encouraged, because in working with you guys, I can tell that you're just very passionate about what you're doing. You have a great product, and so let's dive right in. So what is Syrenn?
For sure. Yeah. Do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
No, I can. Yeah. Syrenn is a training simulation platform. It allows L&D professionals to create and deploy conversational AI.
Yeah.
So the real win here is that it is super easy to deploy and create. It doesn't take a whole lot of resources to do so, and it's in an interactive form of learning, which is really missing in today's climate and environment.
Yeah. We experienced that a lot.
So
for the podcast, we used to be consultants, technical consultants, where we would talk to customers for half of our job and then code up solutions for them the other half. And in order to get trained for that, we came straight out of college and we had the technical skills, but the in-person communication consulting skills were just not there, right? They're really hard to develop, especially when you're told, okay, like you need to be looking at a computer for 8 hours a day when you're getting your undergrad, kind of going on to that next stage of life. And so during our training, we were given the classic corporate training, which is your onboarding process. You go through a bunch of click-through modules, and you just kind of get a rubber stamp saying like,
you're trained.
But then if you get thrown on a customer call, everyone's like, whoa, the new guy's on the call, like, watch him, you know?
And the way I like to think about it is it's easy to learn how to do a job, but once you start doing the job, it gets a lot more complex, and you actually don't get trained on the realities of doing the job. It's more of like, here's what it would maybe look like. Memorize that and try to apply it to what actually happens.
It's like explained, but not in practice.
Exactly.
So you have the concept intellectually, I need to do this, here's what I should do, but your brain's like, we haven't even done this for real.
Yeah, there's a classic 70-20-10 model where for learning, and ideally 70% of your learning is supposed to happen when you're actually doing the job. 20% is by having discussions with coworkers. This is in like an organizational setting. And then 10% is that knowledge transfer that you typically see with that static material, that content that the company provides you early on in the onboarding process. And while that information is really key to using as a reference point, the grand majority of learning actually happens by doing.
It seems similar to like if you're explaining to an athlete how to pole vault.
Exactly.
And you say, here's a slideshow on it, here's an example of it, and here's a printed out paper handout, here's a binder, right? And go study, and then next Saturday I want you to be pole vaulting like really well. Right?
It sounds ridiculous in every other context except training people in a corporate or educational setting, and then for some reason we still do it. The regurgitated way.
Right. So this is really groundbreaking, actually, what Syrenn is doing. And I actually tried out one of your little sampler test things, which was really a lot of fun, and how responsive and how realistic it was.
Yes.
Was great. So, and that was built like quickly.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so it's going to be impressive to see what you guys are going to do after this, because there's this little testing module. I'm like, oh my God, it feels like I'm talking to a real person right now.
Yep.
And it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
So this is what makes you guys better. I'm going to say not different, but better, because I truly believe it's a better way of training. I'm all
100%.
into in
Yes.
vivo training and simulation and role playing. And so this is going to be really a game changer, because we learn by doing.
Yes.
And if you make mistakes during the doing process, it's just training. So it's about being okay with kind of being embarrassed and failing in some of the in vivo training, right?
Yeah.
But that's how you learn the best, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits is that you're supposed to fail.
Right.
Right.
Yep, you are.
And the more you fail, the more you learn.
Yes.
Ideally, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Fail all the time. That's all I do. Right?
And so if you fail in the conventional setting where you were trained by the knowledge transfer process, and that 70% of learning by doing is delayed until you're actually in the role, those failures can be really costly.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So those could be failures in front of a customer.
Yep.
Those could be failures in front of your boss. Those could be failures in front of something that's not a human, but is kind of transferred through the technical sense that you don't get the communication just right. And so putting yourself in the arena, getting those failures out of the way in a truly simulated setting is a huge risk reduction. And so you think about what the big factors are when you look at a business, and you think about, okay, what are my risk factors with my new cohort that I'm hiring? Are they young? Are they experienced? Do they know how to communicate properly? And it's like, you could take all those bets and use all these inferences, things like their education, things like their prior job experience, or you could just run them through the simulations, test them, let them fail, help them learn, and invest in your staff. So it's just like all across the board, a huge game changer in the industry.
Definitely.
And now is the time. Like, this could not have been tried earlier.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. It's like the stars are kind of aligning in terms of technology. The adoption of technology is increasing as well, and the timing, like you're saying, is just kind of perfect. We only get better as technology gets better, based on like the foundation that we built this on.
So can you guys give an example of a hypothetical application of your system in maybe an ideal business that would really benefit from this, so the viewers and listeners understand? Because I get it, right? I've tested it out. I'm blown away. But just describe maybe a place that's having a problem with their training, and in what particular industry it might be, and how your system would come in and make the training a lot better.
So we've been talking about this quite extensively recently, because we've had this kind of like, okay, we sense that there's a problem here, we've experienced it in our roles, and really narrowing that down to companies that have highly complex roles, mainly conversational, and the conversations are high stakes. So when you think of a lot of conversations early on in the class that we took with you at Level Set was a lot of people were suggesting, oh, well, what about support? What about sales? And it's like, those are great avenues that this product could be applied, but those aren't that big of a value proposition to companies, because they don't have the highest value, they don't have the highest stakes conversations, at least with support. So you could make the argument for sales. It is such a saturated part of the market right now, because this technology is brand new, it is hot, but we're not the only player in the overall voice AI simulation space. So when we came to our idea, we looked at the landscape, and so we're focusing on things like your classic crisis prevention sorts of settings, or like healthcare, clinical. Those are our ICP.
And predominantly because to train those types of situations, it already takes, or it already requires an experiential approach, right? The more, as a crisis hotline agent, The more you experience and the differences in calls that you get, the better you will be prepared to interact with the N+1 call.
Right.
But you have to wait until you have the varying degree of calls to be made to you. Obviously, you fail, and that's probably not the area you want to be failing in.
Right.
If someone's already in a very negative mental headspace.
Right.
So like it is truly high stakes, and just having the opportunity to have experienced that type of call in the past. It might not be exactly like what the call encapsulates, but it'll be enough to like drive the conversation forward and prepare you mentally.
Okay. So Syrenn would be best. Well, it could be a lot of different companies could benefit from it, but typically it's going to be customer service. It's going to be high stakes interactions with clients, either in sales or in negotiation, or like you're telling me, crisis hotlines,
clinical settings.
Okay. So that people who are getting trained with Syrenn, when they fail in this simulated environment, and when they win in the simulated environment, they're getting what we're finding out with brain scans and studying the brain is that if you can visualize something or make it as real as possible in a simulated environment, your brain doesn't really know the difference.
Sure.
So that if you sculpt it such that, maybe let's take the crisis hotline person, right? And let's say I'm coming and I'm very well intentioned. I'm sensitive. I really want to help people. But if I'm thrown right into the fire and I get my ass kicked on the first call and my supervisor has to come in, I'm going to be maybe feeling almost traumatized or really like for a couple of weeks. Whereas if I do it through Syrenn, I'm like, ooh, I get the same feeling of this intensity high stake, but it's simulated so that at night I go to bed, I'm fine, right? But the accelerated learning, you learn so much quicker through a system like Syrenn as opposed to actual real life stuff, because the stakes are lower, but you have all the same scenarios as some of these higher stakes situations. Like, let's take, maybe you're trying to get a client and it's like a $10 million account. Different from crisis line, but the same type. If you're in that situation and let's say you kind of screw it up in real life, do you recover from that? Or do you not?
You have to.
But it definitely lingers.
It's
going to influence the next deals you try to make.
Right. Sure. But with Syrenn, if you have that loss and it's simulated, you feel all the same emotions, right? But you recover a lot quicker because it's not real, right? So and let's talk a little bit about AI, because I'm not an AI guy, but everyone's playing around with it, and there's all these predictions about where it's going. But specifically for the role play training systems that you have, how is AI going to, how's it going to help like right now, and where do you predict it's going to go in terms of power for your product?
Maybe I can do now, and you can do.
I think you're the best person to answer those questions, but we are not AI guys either. We are AI tinkerers. We are so we are not building large language models ourselves. We are not some sort of PhD level computational science.
But you're using the large language models.
Yes.
You're on the cutting edge. You know what's out there.
Exactly.
You're not inventing it.
Yes.
But you know the best stuff.
The wood has already been carved. We're just building the buildings.
Right. So right now, how are you liking the current sort of level of technology with AI in terms of making your training system work well? Is it good? Is it good enough, or does it need to be better?
Oh, it absolutely needs to be better. It's it's at the foundational level, and really the core of what the AI is being used for is building these personas that can simulate reality as best as possible.
Right.
It doesn't do the best job at it right now, but this is kind of me going back to saying, like, as AI gets better, Syrenn will get better.
Yes.
We will better be able to imitate reality, and hopefully that will trickle down to our learners. Long term, I think that distinction between the simulated and the reality of these particular roles, I would hope gets condensed so that it seems like when you hop on this call, it's like, I'm right there.
Yeah.
Like if this is a crisis hotline agent, I feel distress. I feel exactly what I would feel in real life. But once that call's over and I get my feedback, I can kind of, I can learn my lessons, but I don't have the negative ramifications of like something going wrong.
Yeah. So you guys have the model, and you're allowing AI technology, which is proliferating everywhere, to just do its thing, and you'll just get the next best models.
Exactly.
Plug it right into Syrenn, and it can only do better, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then a large part of this is, you can have very generic simulations that truly just spit out what the model projects. Yeah. Or you can integrate like the company's data. If you have previous hotline calls, like with this crisis situation, I'm sure they have so many recordings of the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, and whatnot. Yeah. We should be able to leverage that to shape and mold this simulation to mimic reality. And that's, I think, our ultimate goal.
Yeah. That's actually what we're working on right now.
That seems like
next level.
That's the edge that you guys have, I think, on the market, is that if you're using actual human language databases, all these pre-recordings from call centers or whatever it is, right? Plugging that into the large language model, the AI, and then having it with your user interface, which is great. I've seen it. It's going to win. I mean, it's the best thing out there. And I'm biased because I know you guys. Sure. We met in an entrepreneurial kind of starting program here in Madison, Wisconsin, and I believe in you guys, and I've worked with you guys and done some coaching with you guys. But unbiased, I think the product's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. And I going back to your question of around AI, I think the AI tools that are out there for any prospective entrepreneurs that are in your audience, Nati and I, we had the idea when we were at Level Set for this product. We were previously working on a somewhat similar thing related to communication and leveraging large language models. And by reevaluating through Level Set starting block with Fett, which was great, it was. We attribute that Level Set class to just so many great successes that we've had, and the idea that we had, we were able to create a prototype not within like a year. We did it in a few weeks, and we went to a conference with it. We went to DevLearn, but we learned so much. It was having that. But also having that prototype, like with the tools that are available right now, some things out there that we use to begin with were things like V0, where you can, much like a ChatGPT, you can type in to your prompt what you'd like a website to look like, and it will generate a website and all the code for you, the whole front end. And it does it very beautifully, and you can sort of do another, like you can do revisions with it too. And so that combined with some voice AI providers that already exist on the marketplace, some of those like foundational pieces we were able to put together and make a prototype just very, very quickly for a single use case. Right? And we had this idea, and there's so much that we were
naive about.
So much we were naive about, which is, you've said this a lot, like if I wasn't so naive, I don't know if I would have made the jump, which I'm thrilled you did. I'm thrilled that you were naive, because we've learned so much. It's way better for our mental state and our mental sort of progression to that next level, that higher level, because we both saw within us that there was something greater out there when we were working our jobs, which were very nice jobs. It was a great company, great hours, great benefits.
How can we do it better? Right?
Exactly.
And so that was a really fun time. But just to any prospective entrepreneurs that you have in the audience, I mean, just being on the other side of that jump, like it's always worth it, right? because you at least won't be that you are the person in the arena, right? There's a Teddy Roosevelt quote that my dad gave me, and it goes along the lines of you would rather be the man in the arena. Obviously, women are like are in it as well. The person in the arena, but that's the actual quote. The man in the arena, and you would rather be the man in the arena whose face is marred by blood, sweat, and tears, rather than the person in the stands who was too. He uses the term, it's really beautiful, rather than be one of those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat.
Wow.
Yeah. And that I had next to my desk at my old company, and every time I would look at that, I'd be like, God damn it!
I got to get in the arena.
Yeah. And that's a whole other story altogether. If you want to hear about it, I don't know how much time we have.
Well, I think this might be a nice segue to talking about entrepreneurism and having that courage to get in the arena.
Yeah.
Because you guys have the training and the skills and the know-how and saw a need for a better product in the marketplace. And obviously you need that, but then you also need courage. You need, again, we'll plug this great program here in Madison, Starting Block, Level Set.
Yep.
And when I went through the program with you guys, it was really like a paradigm shift of how quickly you can just jump in the arena.
Yes.
Because so many people are getting ready to get ready,
Right.
And well, I'm not sure if I can do it yet, but if you jump in the arena and you just fly to Vegas and you just build a model as quickly as you can, it's you can do it so much quicker than you think in your mind. So let's talk a little bit about that courage to do it, right?
Yeah.
What is, and I want to start out with fear.
Yeah.
Because it's natural, we're humans, we all feel fear, right? But you can use it to get in the arena, or you can stay in the stands, right? What was the biggest fear getting started for you guys? Like committing to Syrenn?
Yeah.
For each of you, what was your biggest fear? If I put you on the spot.
Let's just tell the story of kind of how we started.
Sure.
I mean, so we were both consultants at our last company, Esker, great company. Really like a lot of the people there, and we were working on things related to AI in September of 2023, and our company's mentality at the time, which was very common at that time, was don't use ChatGPT. It's not something that you want to use because there's a huge security risk, right? And we were just beginning to roll out Microsoft Copilot, which is just the basic sort of chat.
Okay.
And we had this friend, Matt, who also worked at the company, and he was just no, I'm going to use large language models as much as I want. He was the AI guy. And so he had gotten us thinking about things related to AI. And he helped kind of build this grassroots movement, which the three of us ended up heading to build an AI chatbot for our to help out our support team.
Okay.
Right. So it would basically be we would categorize all of our old support cases, and we would then kind of reference our documentation if we had any questions, so that it would be a bot that only fed you answers related to your company.
Yeah.
Right. And to build that with the existing tools out there, we had to kind of get that courage, that initial courage, break a bunch of the rules.
Right.
And we built this thing called Eskerbot, and Nati was a huge help in Eskerbot. He was just the technical grand genius behind it. But and so I think that's a great setting for you at that time, your mentality at the time when you were.
Yeah. So I think there are, fears along the lines. I think, Colin, what you're touching on is breaking kind of the bounds of normality.
Yeah.
And exceeding it to achieve a goal, which no one told us this is the way you're going to build this internal tool. No one held our hand as we were doing it. Colin kind of hopped on calls with more senior people until he's really talking to people out in France that lead the whole technology team, and it's like he had to do things like that. So that's one barrier of fear is what happens if they say no.
Right.
It's like, okay, they say no. Like,
well, it seems like there's like the norms, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're breaking the norms,
Yeah.
say in a culture of a company or something like that,
Yeah.
there's that culture that's like, oh, this is just the way we do it.
Exactly.
Right? Can't use ChatGPT. Just no, can't do that. But
Right.
then you guys are smart enough to like, well, this is incredibly powerful. Let's
Right.
kind of like start working on this.
Yeah.
So I think maybe part of the courage is breaking the norms. I'll call it. Not necessarily the rules, but like what what you're expected to do.
Exactly.
Right? And so you guys had the courage to do that.
Yeah, then I think to now get to how it interrelates with Syrenn.
Right.
I think that kind of seeped into our minds like, hey, if we can do this internally,
Yeah.
I think both of us had the mentality already of possibly being entrepreneurs one day. And it's well, if I can
We could
do this
here.
with a small team
Yeah.
internally at a company, what's stopping me from doing it on my own thing or our own thing?
Right.
Yeah.
And to go back to that thing of fear, personally, it was just the fear of failure.
Right.
But it's like if you weigh fear of failure against, being, having a great job, having a steady job, but being comfortable, that was my big,
Right.
scale.
Yeah.
I felt a little weird to be so comfortable at 24.
Right. Right.
And having the aspirations of maybe being an entrepreneur. I'm like, okay, if I can get over the fear of taking a risk,
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'd do great out there. I don't know about you if that was something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I felt the same way. It was eating at me every day, and it was eating at me in a different way every day.
Okay.
Like when I first entered the company, I had just finished a degree where I was like working on a business model, and I was kind of weighing like, should I actually stay with the accepted offer or like go all in on the business model?
Right.
I'm thrilled that I didn't, and it was kind of my apprenticeship phase where I learned so many great skills related to consulting. I mean, I think that that company we were at, where you're talking to clients and then building out what they want, is literally a tech startup entrepreneur incubation phase, because that's exactly what you need to do in order to build properly, because you need to build fast. You don't necessarily build the best, right? Like the cleanest, but you build fast, and you are very attuned to what your end customer wants.
Right. Right.
And so those were some of the skills, but the mental pieces were pretty big. A lot of conversations with the wife, my fiance at the time, now wife, and a lot of conversations with Nati. Nati, he left the company before he actually got to see the fruits of his own labor with Eskerbot. We built Eskerbot, and it was used, but it wasn't completely adopted, because you can build something and then you can have it be adopted, and those are two completely different things, right? Like, because it's change management.
So
But
you built this really helpful bot. Right? You decided to leave the company. Right. You're still there. Right. You're probably thinking, I wonder what Natty is up to, right?
so we talked, and I
literally
was
my last day.
He's
He's like, hey, you want to just grab a beer? Like I had like a very early predecessor of Syrenn. It was technically not Syrenn, but it was a different idea that I had been working on in the off hours of working. Ultimately, it didn't work out, but it was interesting enough that Colin pulled me aside, and we had a couple drinks and laid out the ideas. He's like, I mean, this sounds interesting. I'm down. We work well together. If you'll have me, I'll work with you. I'm like, yeah, of course.
The liquid courage.
Exactly.
A little liquid courage every once in a while, right? So you guys were, we'll call it like an incubator in a way.
Sure.
Where you're helping the company that you're working at. So it's a win-win relationship.
Yeah.
And there comes a point where you're like, well, I want to do something on my own. It's okay to leave, right? I'm not abandoning this place. They're fine. They're doing their thing. But I have all of these innovative ideas that maybe weren't totally implemented, or I have like a completely different, I want to go a lot faster,
Sure.
right? So it's weighing the risk reward, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the same, again, the metaphor of, do you want to be in the arena or in the stands? Now, are there days where the work is hard and it is like, oh my God, like I wish it was going faster. Do you have days like that where the motivation dips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right around the 6-month mark, there's just like I don't know if 6 months has any like, value there, but for me personally, there was like a dip in like morale.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I still seem to be at the same spot. No, it's a different idea, but it's like the same spot. You have some beta testers and no one's paying you. And I think I saw it in real time with Colin on one of our coaching sessions. And it was right around the 5 to 6 month mark. I'm like, and I like went over, I was able to like overcome that mental block.
Right.
But seeing Colin talk about it, it was like, I know what that feels like. Like I was literally just here. And having you like, give some advice as to like how to change your mentality to look at situations in a different light.
Right. So when you're not seeing the actual fruits, it doesn't mean that the tree isn't growing the fruits.
Exactly.
Right? It's that metaphor of like literally you plant a tree in the ground. Do you come and dig it up every 6 months to make sure it's growing? No, you don't. Right? No. So as long as you know that every action you're taking in your business, things are working in the background, right? You talk to somebody, maybe they're talking to someone else, maybe they're thinking about it, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs think that it's all them, right? Yeah. And to an extent it is, you're initiating actions, but once you initiate an action, and not to get too spiritual here, but like you're putting a ripple out there into the world.
That was way too spiritual.
Sorry about that. I'll try to
I can't believe you.
Let's keep it all
I can't
logical.
believe you brought religion into this.
Let's keep it all logical.
Yeah.
But no, I think we talked about this. Like if you talk to, let's say, 5 people this week about more funding for your company, right? And you're like, God, that phone call didn't go great. You're like, oh man, I'm still the same. 3 months ago we were in the same space. That's when you need to say, I'm planting seeds all over the place. And I have no idea how this person is going to be talking to another person about my company. It could be great, right? So it's really like planting seeds. The more you do that every single week or every single month, like you're gonna see tangible results. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I'm gonna coin that for people out there, like a Michaelism.
A Michaelism? Okay.
He has a Celiism. He has a way of like flipping what you perceive as something negative into like, actually, it could be looked at this way, and then you're like, oh, okay. So I'm not just failing. Like maybe, something else is going on here. You've done it quite a few times. There's
it's an extreme optimism. Right? And
but I personally like to, I sometimes like to delve into the extreme pessimism, but I think people struggle to look at the extreme optimism. So it is.
Right.
Well, what I like about extreme optimism, and I didn't invent that term, but it is, you're looking at the truth, right? So it's not BS. If I'm giving you this tree planting seed metaphor, and you guys go, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like it has to make sense, right? Not just like manifestation, right? If I envision my company, envision it like the universe is gonna no, you gotta take action. But if you start focusing on what you don't have, as opposed to, I don't know who I'm gonna meet in 3 months. If I go to this convention, right, I might just meet somebody, right? So I think for entrepreneurs, like trust the possibilities that are out there that you can't actually see at the moment. And that's kind of like a faith thing. Like you gotta like believe that it's not just you. Like there's other people out there who need your product, right?
Yeah, I remember something you helped us a lot with early on was when we were doing cold outreach, and sometimes even warm outreach. I remember a specific example that I told you about. There was this person I had reached out to. We had gotten coffee, we had gotten a lunch together, and it seemed like there was a lot of momentum for a possible sale there. And you just said, after I had just continually reached out, I just felt like I was ghosted.
Yeah.
It's just like, let it breathe. Just
Right.
let this one breathe.
Yeah.
And like you don't know why this person isn't reaching back out to you, but it's not an indication that they are not interested in the product. There could be so many different things, but just like to let it breathe, like take a second to understand the wins that you actually got a coffee or you actually got a lunch with this person. That's a win all in itself, because it is validation to some degree.
Yeah.
It's not the ultimate validation, but it's getting there.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the entrepreneurial journey, you can't take things too personally. And you can't even, again, like someone's not calling you back, it's not about you most of the time. It might be, but if you had like a good initial phone call or connection with someone, and then they start ghosting you, most likely they're super busy or they're not as organized as they should be or something like that. So the power of the follow-up, right? Like let it breathe, whatever, get back to them.
Yeah.
And not taking it personally, I think, is huge. Another thing we talked about was the idea of your product or your service helps the world. So that if you ever start getting down on things, or we're not making as much progress, I thought we'd be further along, it's not about you, right?
Yeah.
It's about, like, if you have a mission, literally, like, this training system is so freaking good, if I don't give it to the world, I'm withholding, I'm making the world a worse place by not putting it out there. I think that's a huge hack for entrepreneurs. If you can think about, like, this is not for me. Obviously, I want to be rewarded. I love what I do. I want it to be a win-win. But like, if you can be driven, like mission driven, like I need to get this product out into the world to, like, think how many businesses would benefit from Syrenn and how this training would go better and how people, super talented people who might fail in the real world would be nurtured by your product and enter and just be like a freaking rock star, right? And if you start, and this is what we talked about too, actually literally envision in your mind's eye the people who are benefiting from your future business, from your product or service, and watch them, like so-and-so, and even name them, right? They're sitting, they just did your training, and they're empowered. And I don't know if you can even feel the emotion right now while I'm describing this. Like, imagine.
I'm envisioning it.
Right? And for entrepreneurs, if you can visualize regularly someone benefiting from your future product or service, and literally like try to envision the people and give them names, and see how much happier they are. Yeah. If you can focus on that, your motivation's going to go up. That is a great hack.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a great hack for those low moments where if you're
down on yourself, right? God, I should be working harder. What's wrong with me? Right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. When if you have set up your idea of the business function being solely a transactional relationship, and you don't see a transactional reward for so long, you're eventually going to just give up on it.
Right.
So if you don't have that mission statement and be mission driven, then eventually it's like you're just going to give up on it, or you're much more likely to. And it just feels better. It's just a better way to align yourself, because at the end of the day, we all, like we were talking about earlier, are all going to be 100 on our deathbeds.
Right.
And
or 120.
120, you guys will. Right. I don't know if I've never seen a 120-year-old, but like for the few that are out there, it's probably not feeling too good.
We'll go with 100.
Yeah. Let's just, but we're not going to be counting our bank accounts at that point. Right. We're going to be thinking about what kind of impact did I have on the world, and when you have a mission that aligns with your business, you are a vessel for your mission, right? And like ideally, your mission is going to be something that's pretty moral,
hopefully,
rather than like screw over humanity,
right?
So,
that's it.
And you helped us a lot with that. That was one of the first things that you asked us, and you were like, we need a mission now?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, and then we did it, and we were like, oh my God.
It would have been nice to have a mission to, fall back onto.
Yeah.
In those earlier days,
Yeah.
before we had one, or at least maybe there was something there, but like writing it down, verbalizing it, being able to look at something and think about it is a lot easier to fall back on.
I have a question for you, Michael.
Sure.
What do you usually ask your, what is the sequence of events, if you have one, when you think about things like the mission, when you think about things like the vision, think about things like the business model, when you are advising your clients, what do you usually look at, and what's the sequence? What do you put the most value on when you're advising your clients?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all the stuff's important that we've been talking about during this podcast, but to be honest, like the main thing that I look for is passion and drive. Like, do you believe in your product or service? Like, and when I was talking with you guys, I can see the passion and the interest. Like, you believe in your product.
Yeah.
Like, so if I'm talking to a potential client, I'll look at the level of enthusiasm and body language when they describe their business or their product, and how they talk about it, right? And if they're just kind of like, I kind of want to make some money, and it's like I want to have a Rolls Royce or what, you're not even telling me about your business, right? Or if they start complaining, about how the industry sucks or whatever, the number one factor is like belief in your product and passion about it, and you guys got that in spades. And so it's like that's what I look for starters.
Gotcha.
All the other stuff you got to have that too, but if you don't have that fire, right, like maybe if you have a couple of good partners, sure, but you don't want to be in a partnership with someone who's like kind of lukewarm, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you can't convince yourself that this will work or this is worth it, how are you going to convince people to pay for it?
Right. And on the topic of partnership, I think like just choosing for us and for any entrepreneurs out there, a good co-founder.
Yes.
Nati and I, our relationship, we were able to test it out when we were working on the AI initiatives at our last company. But I always tell people that we're kind of just like two people who are kind of like holding each other up. If you've ever done that exercise where you kind of like teeter with someone,
leaning on each other in claps or something.
And we're different in a lot of ways. And we use that to our advantage. Just throughout like the highs and lows, like we've just been like, dude, I'm so happy you're my co-founder. Thank God.
So you have to complement each other.
I think it's going back to your comment about you don't have to be alone in this, regardless of if you have a co-founder or not. If you go into do a business with the mentality that I can do everything myself, I don't think that's great. You're going to need help from someone at some point.
Absolutely,
If it's a tech startup, right?
No, I mean regardless.
You think? You think even for like a coaching business like his?
I think you're right on. That was one
Really?
of the mistakes that I did early when I first started my business, and that I still fall into.
Really?
I can get isolated, or I think that I can figure it out myself.
That's more so what I'm referring to. Like, I could just reach out to someone in my network, and maybe they can pass on like the good things I'm doing.
Sure.
That can ripple, versus me saying like, nope, I have to make every sale, or I have to do every action.
The rude awakening of sales.
Exactly. Things like that. So, and that's just one example. Sales.
That makes sense.
Networking is huge. Don't work in your own little silo. This is the concept of win-win relationships. So that how can meeting somebody new benefit both of us? Not just how can I sell my product more, but like how can I help this other guy win too? Right? If you have that mentality in networking, it's great. Like, I'm glad I met you guys because I think we have the same mindset. Right?
Likewise.
And so it's for entrepreneurs out there, you have to put your product service out there. You have to take risks. It's okay. Someone might hate your product or service, but that doesn't mean maybe it's not for them, right?
Yeah.
You want to?
Oh yeah.
This is the extreme of what maybe you could encounter.
Right. Yeah. So our first idea, it was based off of.
This is before Syrenn?
This is before.
Yeah, okay.
This is BS before Syrenn.
Okay. All right.
So right after he had left, and I was like planning my exit, Nati and I had built and released a data set finding tool for journalists. And this thing was a hunk of junk.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And we got some beta users. We had convinced I think around 30 people via various channels like LinkedIn, some things on Reddit, and we got them to use the product, and we emailed 30 people, and we thought this was our big launch date,
right.
our big proof, and they looked at it, and we gave them a feedback form, and one person filled out feedback and was like, just ripped us a new one.
It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah. They just said like this is absolute garbage. Like the fact that you have like thought of yourselves as entrepreneurs is ridiculous.
And specifically, go find something else to do.
Yeah. Go find something else to do.
Yeah. Which
we did take that advice eventually.
Wow, that's really harsh.
Yeah,
but in talking about it now, you realize maybe that person was right.
Yeah. I think that person was right. Whether it was, I'm happy we got that feedback.
Yeah.
I think if they were thinking like, try something else, like entirely, like do not do a startup, I would say you're dead wrong.
Right, you don't know anything about us.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's just brutal honesty, and we don't get enough of that.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're told through at our last company, let's assume that a manager wanted to be brutally honest with one of us. Like with me. I mean, Nati was a much better consultant than I was. I argued with customers on calls at some point. And like I had like talking tos, but it was always, HR mediated sorts of feedback. And when you don't just hear raw feedback like that for a long time, you kind of get soft and you don't have a true version of reality.
Right.
So that was a really nice kick in the teeth.
Yeah, it was.
But it's almost like I feel like there's something within us, almost like Fight Club-esque. It's like punch me in the face. It's like, oh wow, like this is fun. Like like kind of turning it into like.
Well, you're in the arena.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is the truest.
And that's
arena.
Part of it. Like bloodied and beaten in the arena, but still standing.
Yeah.
That's the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. I think that's a great note to end on.
Okay.
Is the arena metaphor.
For sure.
You guys are in the arena. I'm in the arena. Everyone watching and listening. If you're not in the arena and you need to be there, get in it. Right?
Yeah.
You heard a lot about the experience with Syrenn here, with Colin and Nati, and these guys are going places. Where can people find out more about your company?
So you can go to syrenn.co, or you can look me up on LinkedIn, look Nati up on LinkedIn. We can link all of that in the release of the podcast.
Or if you're around the Madison area, Chicago area.
Yeah. Love to just hang out.
Exactly. Yep.
Grab a drink, just hang out.
Great.
And talk about anything related to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Because there are a lot of, we touched on this a little bit, but there's a lot of really great resources in the Madison community.
There really is,
So there's things like Starting Block. You just walk into the AmFam building downtown, and there's really nice people that just greet you at the door, and that's kind of that was the start of our entrepreneurial journey. I don't know how that related to your entrepreneurial journey, but I feel like there's a lot of people that just somehow find their way into Dream Bank, whether it's told by someone or they just are wandering around the streets of Madison and they are looking for a snack.
Right. Want to be entrepreneurs, wandering around like zombies. Yeah. So it's good to get connected with people wherever you're living, listening to this. Like there is something most likely in your community for entrepreneurs. Starting kind of incubator programs, etc. Get involved with those. talk to people about your idea. If you have something super intellectual property, maybe you want to have them sign a non-disclosure agreement. But basically, the point being here, you need to network. You need to get your idea out there, get feedback, get honest feedback, and get in the arena and fight and go. Right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Michael. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Michael.
it.
Great talking with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
You too.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.